is up, YouTube? It is your boy Drago. Today what I have for you guys is my very first tips and tricks video on COD. It's going to be about aiming and centering 101, where I'm going to teach you the basics and teach you the skills necessary to improve. I'm going to give you some tips that you can practice on your own. I'm going to give you some ideas on how to utilize these tips and tricks. Without further ado, let's get right into it. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a private match. So for right now, I'm going to load into a Nuketown private match. I'm going to make sure the mini-map is constant. Pre-match timer is on 5 seconds. And then score limit is unlimited. Now, I am doing this on Black Ops Cold War, but this is very basics. This is like aiming 101, beginner level, all the way to higher levels of aiming. And I am playing on Black Ops Cold War, but that's because, you can really play on any game. This is just a game I prefer. So without further ado, let's log right into it. Alright, so before I start anything, I'm going to show you my sensitivity. So right now, I'm playing on controller. I play on horizontal 6.6, horizontal 6 and vertical 6. So playing on 6.6 sensitivity, and I recommend, if you're playing on default, it would be at 4. I recommend you up it from anywhere between 5 to 9 or 5 to 8. Anywhere in that ballpark, it's a good sensitivity. You can have it lower if you prefer lower. I don't recommend anything lower than 5. I play on 6.6. You can play on 7.7. I recommend to keep the same sensitivity, whichever one it is. So if it's 7.7, if it's 8.8, if it's 9.9, you can go all the way up to 14. I wouldn't recommend it though, because it might be too fast and too hard to control. And I don't recommend you going anything lower than 5, because it might be too slow and too hard for you to control, because it's so slow. So I'm playing on 6.6, and then my ADS low zoom sensitivity is at 1.1. And the reason I have it at 1.1 is so when I aim in, I can move my center pretty fast. You know what I'm saying? I can move my gun pretty fast, move faster than it would be if it was at 1.0. Now you can have it lower if you prefer it. You have it at 0.9 if you want it a little bit slower. This is a slower look. It ain't that slow, but it's it is still pretty slow. I prefer 1.1 so I can make faster snaps, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I have it at 1.1. And then my high zoom is at 1.2, so if I'm in the sniper, it's 1.2, so a little bit faster. And another reason why I have it at 1.1 is if an enemy were to run across my screen, like right now, if it's too slow, they can run across my screen without me being able to, catch up to them or stay on track with their body. But since it's on 1.1, I can make these snaps a lot quicker. My button layout, I'm gonna get into that later in the movement tips and tricks. But also make sure you're playing on dynamic aim response curve. Make sure controller vibration is off, trigger haptics is off, target aim assist enabled, ADS aim assist enabled, standard target aim assist mode is enabled. You don't really need this. This is only for campaign and zombies, but multiplayer you definitely want target aim assist on. Centering is that white dot in the middle of your screen. That's your center. It's the most important part of your screen, that along with your mini map. You always want to know where your center is. You always want to keep an eye on it and make sure you're putting it at key areas on the map, because this is where your character model is looking in a first-person shooter game. And just like every first-person shooter game, that wherever your center is always where your bullets are going to come from. It's always going to come from the center of your screen, so that's why centering is so important. Whenever you run, you're just going to see a dot. But when you're standing still, you're going to see a dot with 4 crosshairs. It's always important to make sure it's not too low where you're looking at the ground, because enemies aren't going to be at the ground usually, and make sure it's not too high, because enemies aren't going to be in the sky. So you always want to have it around chest level. Whenever you're navigating through the map, whatever you're looking at, you want to make sure your center is pointing at key areas of the map. And the skill of centering is going to take some time to get used to, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be good at it from the beginning. It takes time to get used to. Also, You have to get used to your sensitivity so you know how fast your screen is going to turn when you're making a right turn or a left turn. So always make sure centering is at a good area, you know, a good viewpoint, because this is where your character model is looking, and it's also where your shots are going to be coming from. So that's why centering is so important. And then also, second part of centering is ADSing. So like I said, with centering, wherever you put that dot is, or that dot at, that's exactly where, whenever you aim in, it's going to be looking at that point. So the main difference between this and this is where you can shoot accurately, and this is where your shots are accurate. But this is always going to be way faster than this, as you can see. So this is for when you're ready to shoot at someone, you're in mid gunfight, you're ready to shoot at something, or you're pre-aiming, getting ready to shoot at something. And this is for navigating around the map quickly. Obviously, when you're running, you can't ADS at the same time, but you can ADS and strafe. It's going to be a lot slower than if you're just strafing without ADSing. But you always want to make sure you're ready at key areas of the map, and you always want to make sure you're getting that dot at good areas of the map to make sure when you ADS, your shots are going to be there. So it's very important to know also how to get better with centering. You obviously want to do this, and you also want to practice with this just as much. Aiming, centering without ADSing, and then ADSing when you center. So this is going to take time to master. You could just sit still in one area. You can use your left stick to help you. You know what I'm saying? And you also want to, this obviously you're slower, so you're going to have to use your right stick a little more. Same concept as this. You can do that sitting still, aiming at all the different lanes they could attack from. And also, this takes me right into the next step, and this is lanes, getting ready to challenge lanes and prepare yourself for lanes. So lanes, these lanes are the way the enemies can attack you from. So they could come from left side of the building, they could come from garage door, they could come from bottom house, they could come from top house, and they could come from right side room. Right side of the house. So if my enemies is spawning this way, they're spawning at this area, and my enemies are spawning behind me, we got, you know, this spawn, and I know they're ahead of me this way, they could either come from 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. They can only come from 5 lanes. So you want to make sure you're locking down lanes, especially if you have an AR. You want to lock down lanes, because these are the only ways they could potentially come from. Now, when you're aiming at lanes, notice that they can only come from these lanes, but at the same time, you're never going to, it's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to center perfectly where the enemy is. Like, let's say if I'm aiming down this lane and someone jumped across, I'm going to have to make that small change, you know, that small adjustment. If they're in front of the wall right here, I got to make the small adjustment. If they're coming from this door and they walk outside this door and they're right here, I got to make that small adjustment. They walk outside this garage and go right here, I got to make that small adjustment. If they're top window and they strafe to the right, I got to make the small adjustment. You know what I'm saying? If they go from the left side and they go all the way to this corner, I got to make that small adjustment. So you're not always going to be perfect. Most of the time you're going to have to make adjustments to wherever they're centering. The same thing goes vice versa. So when you're aiming down these lanes, always remember that these are the potential ways they can attack from, depending on which side your team is spawning and which side their team is spawning. Now, advanced centering. So now I taught you the lanes. Advanced centering is centering at these lanes, but behind objects. So this is a trailer right here, a 8-wheeler, or I mean a 18-wheeler, right? I'm tired right now, so you know. Anyways, this 18-wheeler. So I know there's a lane behind here, obviously, because I can see on the mini map. And then if I don't know, I can always see on the mini map. So instead of just walking out and aiming like that takes time. I could die doing that. If someone's pre-aiming it on here, on this side, and they're pre-aiming it, they're anywhere over here and they're pre-aiming this, or they're right here preeminent, wherever, right? They're preeminent, right? And I run out, and I just run out blindly, knowing that there's a lane right here. I just run out blindly, and then aim in. I could possibly die before I can even get a shot off. You know what I'm saying? I could possibly die before I get a shot off. Now, the smart way to challenge that is to strafe this lane, and then, you see what I'm saying? Because now I'm ready. Now when they jump out the corner, I'm ready immediately. I'm ready immediately. So, ready immediately. That's what I meant. Ready immediately. That concept. And the same goes if I slide out and challenge it. And all I'm doing is I'm getting my center there before I hit the corner. Now sliding out, and there's jumping out. And this is just prediction. If I know they could come from this lane, I'm gonna pre-aim this lane behind this wall. I'm gonna pre-aim. I know they can come from this garage. I'm gonna pre-aim this garage behind the wall. If I know they can come from this door, I'm pre-aim the door behind the wall. If I know they're at this window, let's say they're shooting their gun and there's a red dot that appear on the mini map, pre-aim through that. Always better to strafe out instead of running out and then turning and strafing. That's probably like a whole second. And you could die in less than a second. These guys in their top window and they're pre-aiming it. The best way to do it is to walk around this corner. If you expect or suspect someone to be top window, walk around this corner, strafe out, and then you're already on target. You see what I'm saying? Already on target. Alright, so that's another tip now. Alright, so for tip number 2 is recoil control. So this is me not controlling my recoil. This is just recoil on its own. And that's the pattern. It isn't that bad. But at range, if I'm shooting at range, that's me not controlling it. Now me controlling it, I'm fighting against it. So around the first 2 shots, you're gonna get recoil. And after a while, the recoil is going to improve, so you're going to hold down even more and more and more. Now, that's one of the most overlooked things in a gunfight is recoil control. At close range, it's not really going to make a difference. Alright, so the next step is shooting against bots. And these are recruit bots, so these are the lowest level bots. And this is just to teach you how this works. Aim assist works in COD just by when you aim at a target, it's going to slow down a little bit. It's going to give you that aim assist to get your first shot on target. See? That's how it works. Now, the better you are at controlling recoil, you can also strafe the target instead of just using your right stick only. You can and that's going to help you stay on target, but it's also going to give you something called rotational aim assist. So that's me aiming at a target, and I'm just strafing back and forth. And what this does is just give me aim assist throughout the entire gunfight instead of just getting aim assist as soon as I snap on, because it's just going to slow down, and then it's going to help me get on target, but it's not going to help me stay on target. So if they're strafing, see that I will lose aim assist. But if I'm strafing, I'm going to maintain aim assist throughout the entire game. And that same thing goes if I'm strafing. If I'm going to teach you how to snap. Snapping is the concept. Use your left stick and your right stick together. Get on target. Now this is something that's going to take time to get used to. All I'm doing is I'm strafing in that same direction, snapping.